Greetings. We are the Arcturians. As a spiritually aware individuals, you were allowed to incarnate because you were evolved enough to assist in moving a hypnotized world above its long-established illusory belief system. Because you are aware that there is no time or space and only one consciousness, you knew that your attained consciousness of oneness could serve to automatically draw and lift those spiritually ready into a more evolved state of consciousness regardless of where they lived in the world. Do not allow yourselves to become overwhelmed by the pain and suffering you hear about and see through the media, which is very easy to do. However, by doing this you add this low resonating energy to the collective and give power and substance to the illusion. We know that it is often difficult and exhausting to remain neutral and hold the light of truth in the presence of all that is going on in the world at this time, but you were chosen out of many to be here at this time because you were deemed strong and evolved enough to do it. You who have attained a consciousness of truth serve as light in these times turmoil because one with God is a majority. One highly evolved consciousness can dissolve and lift others up and out of their false creations of separation, duality, and two powers where there is alignment. When you are tempted to indulge in anger, disgust, revenge, despair, etc., all of which are easily felt at this time, stop and ask yourself, what am I believing that is making me feel this way? Is it true? This will redirect your thought to truth and allow you to clear and shift away from adding power to appearances. Love is oneness. Those who have attained conscious awareness of oneness and know that the true identity of every life is in and of that one, lift and serve by virtue of their understanding that love is the interconnecting energy existing between all expressions of that one divine consciousness manifesting as many. On earth love has been and continues to be interpreted in hundreds of ways according to the state of consciousness of those doing the interpreting. Always remember that because you are expressions of God, you are creators and your consciousness is the substance from which you create. Love continues to be preached from many sources but usually consists of three-dimensional concepts about love, which in most cases means attraction to another or emotions. Love can and frequently does include feelings and emotion. But love in its purest and unconditional form is the energetic connection between the infinite expressions of one divine consciousness. God infinitely sustains and maintains itself, not Joe, Mary, or the dog itself, one divine consciousness and one divine mind individualized as Joe, Mary, and the dog. It does no good to pray that God protect this one or that one, but not this other one deemed to be bad, or to beg God to please give me this or that. God is, always has been, and will continue infinitely to be and express itself in fullness and without limitation because God is all that is, knowing only itself in it as infinite form and variety. Everyone at some point must accept that their true identity is divine consciousness with a divine mind individualized, and that therefore they embody all the qualities of this divine consciousness rather than that they are weak and vulnerable human beings controlled and governed by outside forces formed of beliefs in duality, separation, and two powers. When you feel yourself slipping into old habits of self-judgment and criticism, pause and call to mind, I am the fullness of all the one I am is, or whatever words resonate with you that will clear and shift you into a higher state of consciousness. Do not judge yourself or feel that you have failed when you feel anger and frustration at what you are witnessing in the world, but rather use these emotions to remind yourself that God alone is, and that anything formed from beliefs of duality, separation, and two powers is illusory in spite of its seeming reality. Many wonder about the presence of so many seemingly lower resonating people on Earth at this powerful time. Some of the less evolved who carried the energetic potential for actions of violence and separation were allowed to incarnate during Earth's ascension time, not only for their own evolutionary process but also because their state of consciousness could lead to the activation and exposure of dense agendas needing to be seen and recognized in order to be eliminated. Earth is ascending, even though it may not look that way judging by appearances. Heavy ancient energies formed from ego-based power over beliefs that have been active for eons are surfacing in order to be seen clearly for what they represent, and for the first time are being rejected by the majority. It is happening. It is Easter season for Christians, a time in which the story of the death, resurrection, and ascension of the Master Jesus is told and celebrated. However, as with the Christmas story, the death, resurrection and ascension of Jesus is not just one man's story, but is everyone's. Easter experiences are not just one-time events, but are part of every soul's evolutionary journey through lifetimes in order for them to shift from a comfortable state of consciousness long outgrown that they refuse to move on from. A major Easter experience which you may have had, will have, or may be now experiencing is when everything previously believed and has served well up to a point either gradually or suddenly collapses and drops away. The person's long-held foundational belief system crumbles, leaving them panicked, confused, and in a state of mental turmoil, even questioning whether God exists. Sometimes physically, but more often emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. There is a period of deep inner suffering as long-held beliefs about relationship, love, spirituality, religion, God, etc. come into question. The agony and loneliness in the garden, the crucifixion of one's old state of consciousness, is followed by a period of emptiness, the tomb, a time of forced resting in nothingness because the person's previously held three-dimensional foundation is gone. She feels bereft and empty of almost all feeling, even though the experience is always accompanied by tremendous light and love from the higher dimensions. After a short period of time, depending upon one's resistance and struggle to bring back the old, the soul finally surrenders and emerges from their tomb of nothingness imbued with a deeper and higher awareness, able to see and understand self and others through more evolved eyes. She has ascended into the new and more evolved state of consciousness they were ready for but resisting. The old person has died, but a new person is born. At some point is determined by the higher self. Every person will or may even now be having a deep, profound Easter experience because Earth energies have become intense and a great deal of high resonating frequencies are now pouring in, clearing, shifting, and forcing those ready out of a comfortable dream that has become obsolete. Easter is not a failure, but is a graduation. One omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient consciousness as you. We are the Arcturian Group.